It's not just that he's a dum-dum. It is why that matters. It's not just that he's a dum-dum. It's that he's immoral, and why that matters. When Charlie Chaplin was making fun with a little mustache of Adolf Hitler, the critique that the guy was a dum-dum, that he should be mocked and ridiculed, was vastly insufficient to impact the kind of public opinion necessary to topple a dictator. There had to be a case made why it mattered. And why it wasn't just naughty. You're a little naughty. Not just silly, but immoral. And a case made why that immorality mattered. It's tie day. Wearing a tie because it's serious stuff. It's serious business we're talking about today. I'm Jefferson Smith. This is the Thom Hartmann Program. I know that Donald Trump called them the Kansas State Chiefs. I know that they're in Missouri. I know that it is somewhat ridiculous to be president of the United States and not understand that the vast bulk of Kansas City is in fact in Missouri, at least when you're talking about the football team. But you know what? That's not the part that I care about most. I vastly more care about kids in cages. Vastly more. I care vastly more that millions of Americans may be thrown off of their health care because the right-wing movement wants that to happen. I care about a deficit that seems only to matter to a huge set of propagandists when there's a Democrat in office. When there's a Republican in office, they jack up the deficit and the national debt to historic levels so that somebody else will pay for it. If you think that deficits and debts matter, maybe you don't. But if you do, you're leaving something to be paid for by somebody else later. That I care about that vastly more than whether or not somebody remembers that Kansas City is somewhat confusingly named. I care about vastly more that we are bullying the Fed to keep interest rates down to artificially fuel an economy and artificially fuel a stock market, which means we will have fewer tools to use when a crash does come, or at least just a little dip comes. See, when a dip comes, you have a few tools. You basically have monetary policy and fiscal policy. We all know the difference between these two things. It's very useful. Anybody who ever wants to run for office, help some candidate, it's a useful thing to understand the difference between fiscal and monetary policy. Now, one tool you have is the ability to change interest rates. You can elevate them or you can lower them. And the Fed does that. We make that independent so they don't just do it to help reelect or defeat a president. So we don't just jack it up to defeat Jimmy Carter or keep him down to help Donald Trump. And you can use your monetary tool of the price of money, interest rates, to jack up the economy. And if things get bad, if there is a recession, you can say, okay, now's a chance to make money a little cheaper so that people will take on debt. And by taking on that debt, we can juice the economy a little bit. We can get people buying stuff, getting people making stuff, getting people investing in new equipment, buying new homes, even new cars maybe. Might not be good for the climate, but it might juice up the economy. That's one tool. Another tool is our fiscal policy. And this is, well, let's call it stimulus. Oh, geez, we're having an economic downturn. We're Franklin Roosevelt. Let's go and put a bunch of people to work. Let's build a bunch of roads. Let's paint the murals in my high school, Grant High School in Portland, Oregon. Paint these beautiful murals, WPA projects. Let's get people to work. Let's stimulate the economy. Maybe in the 21st century, that could be a Green New Deal. That's another tool. And you might even take on debt to do that. The country say, you know what, we need to juice the economy, so we're going to borrow a bunch of money. And we're going to borrow a bunch of money, and we're going to put it into stuff to make sure people are working so that we can restore confidence that we make things here, that we do things here, we even buy things here. Those are your tools. Now, here's a problem. And this is something I care vastly more about than Donald Trump knowing which side of the line Kansas City is in. And that is that now we've already used those tools when the economy was already, relatively strong. Not that strong for poor people, not even that strong for middle-class people, but strong for rich people. And we've used those tools, already jacked up the debt. We've already lowered the interest rates. We didn't listen to the Bible. We didn't listen to the story of Joseph. These people who Bible thump all the time. We forgot the story of Joseph that says, well, you save for times of lean during times of plenty. If this is a time of plenty, if you buy that argument, why are we acting like it is a time of lean? Why are we eating our seed corn? I care about that vastly more than I care about where a football team is located. And let's make sure that one thing that this program can do, one thing that the listeners, the wonderful community that Thom and his wonderful team have built, is help hold to account media members who are getting off the topic. Hey, listen, a little bit, enough with the dum-dum critique. Let's talk about the relevant stuff. I'm not saying we shouldn't make the case of why it matters he doesn't know stuff, but let's make sure that we also talk about the stuff that matters. Now,